Hello, and welcome to the Body House Chronicles. Here, we're chronicling the fringe industries of sex, cannabis, and psychics, the trades of real internet innovation in these phenomenal and turbulent times. This is Dyann Bridges, and you're listening to another installment of the Body House Chronicles. Thank you for being here, Bob. And so I'm so glad that you're here to interview. And so I wanted to, we connected by email, and you've got a signature in your email saying that you're a Caulbearer, which is interesting. I think it's a very little known part of the psychic industry. So I'd love it if you could explain what a Caulbearer is, because I think many people don't know, because it's pretty rare, isn't it?
It is. It's 1 in 800,000 babies are born with the veil. The veil is an actual membrane, or they weren't really sure what it was, that is attached to our faces, and it has to be removed by the surgeons.
So is it part of the placenta?
No, it's not, actually. They don't know what it is. There was some kind of membrane. I haven't looked. When I had it, actually, I had the actual veil for a long time. Somehow it got lost. But when I was a kid and was looking at it, they just didn't know what it was. They just said it was a membrane, but it's not part of the placenta or the birth sac. All
right. So how does that translate, this interesting phenomenon? How does that translate into psychic ability?
Okay. Apparently, Caulbearers are psychic. All the Caulbearers in some way have some sort of psychic ability or some sort of gifts. Moses said to the Nazarenes that the Caul is not here for thyself, but to help heal the sick and cleanse the waters. And what that means to be, I get hit by a lot of Caulbearers online. One woman is actually a healer. She was actually a nurse, and she was telling me that she was giving out medication to a patient, and when she opened her hand, there was more medication in her hand than she had started out with. Never really knew what this gift was. Okay, I know I had it all my life. I was a cop at one point. I knew when things were going to happen. I had more felony arrests than anybody on my job, just because I just knew things. I didn't understand it. Back then, and I'm an old guy, so back then they thought it was ESP, and my family wasn't familiar with it. I mean, I can go back to experiences. When I was a kid, waking up, knowing my father had passed when I was 16, I woke up at 8 o'clock in the morning, and they called us at 8:30, and that kind of thing would go on. I guess what happened, I had a healing. I had diverticulitis, and I used the transformational healer, and he actually prevented me from having to go to the surgery, and I brought him to a little boy who had terminal brain cancer. And on the way home, he called a psychic, or medium, actually, down in North Carolina by the name of Sherry Purback, and she said to me on the speakerphone, "Bob, you got to do this." I said, "I'm not doing it." Yes, you have to. She said, "You got 7 divine spirits around you. You're going to have no choice." I said, "I'm not doing it." At the time, because I'm also a photographer, I had a great account with Con Edison. I was very happy with it. And eventually the Con Ed contract went away, and this was what I was left with.
Okay, so hang on. I want to figure out the sequence of events there. So you said you were a cop for a long time, and then you worked at Con Edison, and then you were encouraged to go into psychic mediumship. Is this correct?
Yeah. Here's what it is. I'm a freelance photographer. I did a lot of food, fashion, shot for example, I covered BondCon for Screw Magazine. I did a lot of major accounts, okay? Eventually, as accounts were moving out of New York, Con Edison became my account, and I was doing forensic photography for them. So I was an outside contractor for them.
Oh, okay. I see. Okay.
And
all right. So you were, just so that I'm clear, you were photographing like buildings and such, so that they could find out what went wrong in
fires, accidents, things like that.
Okay. So if maybe you can just give us a little more background in terms of how you came to this point. I did go to your website, Bob Buchanan, medium.com, or Caulbearer.com. I'm sorry. Bob Buchanan, Caulbearer.com.
It's Caul Medium. It's CaulMedium.com.
Oh, callmedium.com. I apologize. I will have the correct
And
link
that's
connected to
okay.
the audio.
It's CAUL.
So
Okay.
I was fascinated that you spent a lot of time on the New York police force, and then and you mentioned you are a photographer, and now you're into this. So if you can give us more of a better understanding of how this progressed in your life and how it affected your career, that would be awesome.
Sure, no problem. Like I said, I've always had this since I was a baby. I've had visions and knowing things were going to happen. I never see death, until after it's happened. I can't give you the lottery numbers, but I didn't acknowledge it. I didn't know what. I'd love to have the lottery numbers, um, but they don't. The problem is I didn't acknowledge it because nobody really knew. And this is back in okay, I'm going to date myself, 50s, 60s, 70s. They thought it was ESP at the time. But I continued to go with this, and things would happen that I couldn't explain. I sort of hid from it because I couldn't really understand it, and I couldn't explain it. I just didn't really acknowledge it. Let's put
All
it
right.
that way.
So how about a specific example? How long did you work on the police force?
I was 10 years of my photography business took off and I retired out of there.
Okay. And so from what time to what time frame was
71,
your police career?
1971 to 1981.
Okay. So during that time, can you give us a couple of examples of how your ability to predict things and see things, how did that, can you tell us some experiences you had on the police force, how that worked?
Sure, I can give you one or two really strong. I was on foot patrol in a shopping center, and some guys pulled up and ran into Dress Barn, grabbed a bunch of dresses off the rack, jumped in the car, and took off.
Mm-hmm.
And so I put it out over the radio. Right? And I told communications we're looking for a black Pontiac with two males, whatever that was, headed east on 119. So they didn't say anything. So I call back, I go back on the air. I said, communications, did you get that? Oh, give it to us again. Okay. So I gave it to him again, gave the description of the car. And I said, send 61, that's a sector car, to Annie Says on Central Avenue. I don't know why. That's where they caught him, okay?
You told the
Well, these
dispatch
guys,
basically where to go.
I told dispatch exactly where to go. And that's where that car went there to that other store probably about 2 or 3 miles away, and that's where they apprehended him.
Okay. You didn't know which street they were going down, told
No, I hadn't.
dispatch.
Is
Is that correct? Am I hearing that right?
Yes. They were going towards the city of White Plains and Hartsdale. So they had to. Yeah, no, I'm just kind of.
All right. So how did you transition from being a police officer into photography, and how did being a Caulbearer play into that?
Okay. The Caulbearer thing didn't really totally play in. I took up photography as a hobby. I was hired by a local weekly newspaper and that did all the river towns, and I was doing photographs with them. And PR people started seeing my work, started calling the newspaper, trying to hook up with me, find out who I was.
It's really fascinating, and I don't think people really understand what it is, what it's like to live with it, how you get the predictions, how it shows up in your life, and that's the important part. Like, I want to understand
Let's stay with that.
what that is. Yeah, Bob. I want to I want people to understand how your ability shows up and how it affects your life. I'm not even sure that people really understand what a callbearer is. I mean,
basically, we are very similar to mediums. Okay, and I've been to mediums. Mediums will get, and we're just different. Nobody's better or worse than anybody, okay? Mediums will get 15 to 20 souls. I call them souls, not spirits, the spirit guide. Caulbearer I get 1 to 5, okay? Those are the people that are closest to you. I go into a zone, all right? I sit with you either on a phone or in person, and I go through a little routine that I tell people, and I close my eyes, and it actually plays like I see it like a faded black and white movie, and they talk to me in whispers. Okay, they give me a lot of signs and symbols. I have to, put that together. Once we establish who the souls are, sometimes I get names, sometimes I don't. But once we establish who the souls are, and what the relationship is with you. Then they open up what I call a window on your life, and that's where the big difference is between myself and medium. And that window shows me where you are at today and how the souls believe that they can, want you to get through it, to the other side of it. I've worked with people that have been extremely depressed. I've had 4 people that were going to take their lives. And I heard the soft voice. That's the voice of God. As soon as I hear that, I know this is going to happen. I had one gentleman who was going to had me there to tell me what it was going to be like to be on the other side. And I told him right away he couldn't leave here. He had his suicide note written, and he tore it up, and he's still here. That was about 4 or 5 years ago. Another young man, whose mother was a client, she called me and said, he's in a bad place. I don't know what's going on. And I said, oh my God, Carla, he's going to take his life. You've got to get him to me. Get him some kind of help. So she freaked. So he agreed to come and see me. So we're going to start there. So he's leaning against his car. He's a tough guy, motorcycles, all that, street kid. And he's got this attitude with his arms folded. I went right into his face. I said, you're sitting in your room crying. You're going to your grandfather's grave. You're asking your grandfather if it's okay for you to go to him. And his face just dropped, and he couldn't believe it, and he shook his head slowly, yes. I worked with him for about 3 years. We're still good friends now. He's gotten through that, and he's on the other side of that. So that's how we work. I do tell people.
Okay. So do all Caulbearers? That was a very good distinction between a medium and a Caulbearer that I had never heard or come across before. So do all Caulbearers have your specific type of gift?
No, no. Like I was telling you, most of us do. Okay, not all Caulbearers do anything with it. Like I didn't do anything with it until I came out with the healing, but. That one woman who was a nurse, she was a Caulbearer. She was treating a patient, and she opened her hand. She was holding like 2 pills in her hand. She said she opened her hand, and there were like 4 or 5 pills there. Okay. So she has this gift of healing. All right, she intuitively knows, and I've talked to a few other nurses who do this. They intuitively know what their patients need.
Okay, so I just want to define medium and Caulbearer a little bit differently. With mediums, my understanding is that they get information from spirits, people who have passed, and so as a Caulbearer, you get the same information, but then you also get information on how people can work through a difficult part in their lives. Is that correct?
Right. Yes. Okay. Now, the spirit or soul is just a semantics type thing. I think the word spirit guides is overused. It's unfortunately in what we do, and this whole genre of life is too many fakes who just repeat things. So we're talking to the same entities on the other side. Doesn't matter what you call them. When I sit down with somebody, I call it a session, not a reading. I mean, I did all that when I first came out, but then I started to change because I realized I wasn't reading anything. So I'm like, why the hell am I calling this a reading? So I call it a session. Okay, now I've been with mediums. Mediums get a lot of people in the beginning, and I only get maybe 1 to 5. And the reason for that is the message that we get to help people get through their situation, whatever it might be. If we get too many souls, it might get confusing for that person. So we keep it simple, and then they start talking to us and telling us about where this person's at, what they can do. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, that's really fascinating stuff. So how I know that you give sessions now in your life. Is that exclusively? But I'm sorry, you're also a photographer. So is that
right?
Do you combine them anyway? Are they separate careers, or how does that work for you?
Yeah, I keep them separate. Because people in the photography, when I'm hired by photography client, they might not be into this, and it might freak them out. There's a lot of myth around what we do, and people get frightened, or they might be religious zealots. Most religions are starting to accept this now. The born agains absolutely do not. I get attacked by them regularly. So if one of my clients happens to be born again, and he finds or she finds out that I'm doing this, I could shoot myself in the foot. I could lose the account.
So do you
So
work with a lot
I do
of
keep them separate.
Christians? Okay. So do you get a lot of I don't know, born again Christians as a photographer? Or
I've had one or two, but you never know who's
okay.
calling and for what.
Okay.
They all
And
have
so
to
what
work.
kind of what kind of photography do you do now?
Well, now I'm doing a lot of headshots, portraits, and some product photography. I'm just starting to rebuild from the Con Ed.
Okay, that's interesting. So if somebody is interested in going to a Caulbearer, or learning more about this, they think they may want a session, they need a session, want to find more about it. What's the best way to go about it, and so that they can be steered in the right direction?
Okay, first of all, I don't know any other callbearers up here that do what I
Okay.
do, but
Mm.
they can, they can call me or they can go online and find me. They can find callbearers online. How I found out more about what a callbearer does, and I think this is kind of important. When I first came out and I was doing these sessions for people, I'm like, wow, these are nothing like what I got from psychics. From mediums. I don't like the word psychic. I don't like psychic. This is not what I was getting when I went to a medium. Nothing like it.
Mhm.
So I thought I was really shouldn't be doing this. There's something wrong. And a woman from North Carolina called me, who was a client. She said, "Listen, my daughter was born with the veil. I want to know what to expect from this." I said, "Well, I can tell you I was crazy, but I can't tell you much more." And I found a woman after a really hard search online, and you have to be very careful because a lot of people who say they have the call, or one Caulbearer.org is a site by a woman who was dating a callbearer. You just can't possibly know what a callbearer is by dating one. So I found Dee she was down in Mississippi, 72-year-old woman, really kind of crazy, but very direct, and she taught me a lot about the fact that, she hated psychic and medium. She said, you can't call yourself that. They're all fakes. She was a zealot about that. She told me, you got to listen to the soft voice. That's how I heard about the soft voice, because these gifts are granted by the divine spirits, whoever you believe in, whether it's God or whatever. And if they're not granted, you're not going to do this.
Mhm.
So she filled me in on a lot of what we do. At one point, Caulbearers in the South are very well known. In New Orleans, there was a hanging tree where they hung us, and that tree is still there because we were looked at as witches and things like that.
Right. So when you say the soft voice, can you give us a definition between some people might think it's intuition, but obviously you're getting something much more than just intuition. Can you explain the difference for us?
Yeah, the soft voice is like a very soft whisper. The other voices are a harder whisper from the souls. Now, this is very important. When I sit down with somebody, I tell them, do me a favor, don't tell me why you want to talk to me. Don't tell me who you want to contact. Don't tell me anything about you. As a matter of fact, I never get last names, so I can't be accused of Googling people. I don't have time anyway, but I can't be accused of that. So it has to be very real for me. I start asking, and we start developing who's here. And once the person knows I'm real, and I'm telling them stuff about their life and about them and the life with the soul that's with me, they know I couldn't have made it up. Then we move on, and I'll let them open up a little bit. But until that we reach that, it's very important to me that they don't tell me anything. So and I've worked with families on homicides and well-known homicides. I couldn't really capture the person. I don't really talk about the homicides publicly too much, but one, I will tell you that the aunt was a good friend of mine. It happened on 84th Street. It was in the news. They didn't know where the body was. They had established that he was probably dead. And I told the aunt that he's by the side of a road in New Jersey. Okay. I walked into my daughter's apartment. TV was on. The news is on, and there's an aerial shot of them. They found the body on the side of a road in a boatyard by the Jersey Shore. So that's the kind of information I get. There was other.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, but you say that a lot of mediums and psychics are fakes. So we see, I like to watch a lot of the shows where a lot of the police will work with psychics and mediums. And I don't think I've ever heard any of them distinguish between a medium, a psychic, and a Caulbearer. So I guess want you to be as clear as possible so that people understand the difference. Because that sounds, I think a lot of people would say what you just described is what a medium or a psychic say that they do.
Like I said, we're very similar.
Okay.
Mediums. I've been to a lot of mediums before I allowed myself to do this. Okay, and out of 10, let's say 10, 3 were really good. The rest were asking me a lot of questions. When you go in to see somebody who does what I do, a medium or Caulbearer, if they're asking you a lot of questions, grab your money and run, because this is going to be, might as well go to a psychologist. Psychics, especially, you got to really be careful around people who call themselves psychic. Medium is one thing, but when they just call themselves psychics, like the people on the streets of New York, you have to be careful. They're sizing you up for what kind of jewelry you have, what kind of clothing you're wearing, shoes. They know how much money you have. That's not psychic. They were taught that. They're going to tell you that they have you have a spell, and they can get rid of that spell for $5,000 or whatever. Out in Long Island, about a year ago now, they caught a psychic going for $90,000 on this older woman. She had been taking her for a little here, a little there. Then she was going in for the big kill, and that's when the authorities got involved. They have to be very careful. Now, we all have different abilities. Now, some people are really good at the crime scenes and crime. There's some people like me. I'm okay at crime. I'm not going to, talk. There was a very famous case where in Queens, they didn't know who he was. I described him, and he turned out to be exactly who I described. I couldn't find out where he was. But when they arrested, I called the mother and I said, "There's an arrest coming, and it's coming soon." This is about a year and a half after the crime was committed. And she said, "Bob, from your voice to God's ears." I said, "Kathy, it's coming." I said, "I saw a vision of New York City police coming together like in a football huddle." And that was what told me it was coming. 2 weeks almost to the day, they arrested this guy.
So when you say you had a vision, do you sit in meditation and get these visions? Do you get them at night in dreams? How does that work for you?
Oh, they can just come to me. I can sit. If I want to think about something, I'll sit and I'll go deep, what I call deep. I close my eyes and it's sort of like a meditation, but I'm talking to the souls. I'm asking for the souls to come to me and tell me where they're at and what's going on, and then I'll start seeing it. This vision was right around the inauguration day, okay, and I saw the cops coming together, and I wasn't sure if it was because of the inauguration or what it was, but then I heard the whisper they're going to arrest from the woman that was murdered. They're going to make an arrest. So that's how I made that distinction. I called the mother, told her, and they did lock him up. I also told them that the daughter was not raped, and it looks like that was true. She was not, because I found different DNAs. So it's hard to explain. Sometimes I could be just sitting here, not thinking about anything, and bam, all of a sudden something comes to me. Okay, I had a father. His son. Let me give you one kind of very good story about it. I had a father I saw way up in Connecticut, and his 14-year-old son had been hit by a truck. And that all came out in the session. He felt guilty because he was right around the corner. What had happened is his son and his friend were playing, and his son's friend pushed him and was hit by a truck. Okay. A year later, I'm getting out of the shower. The kid's with me. Ralph is with me. I says, "Tell my father don't drive by the accident scene anymore." So I find Ralph, the father, both the same name. I reach out to him. I said, You drove by the accident scene today, didn't you?" He said, "Yeah." So he called. And I said, "Look," he said, "don't drive by the accident scene." He said, "But I just don't feel him. I just don't think he's around." I said, "Ralph, you're in Cheshire, Connecticut. I'm in Westchester County. How the hell do I know you drove by that accident scene?" You see, that kind of stuff just comes to me, and it could come out of nowhere. And it depends where the person is, too.
Did he take your advice? Did he stop going by the accident scene?
Yeah, okay, I think so. Yeah.
So how do you get your clients? How do they find you?
They usually find me they Google me online through my website. I'll get an email off the website, or they can call me. I do not advertise at all. It's all 100% word of mouth. I'm getting calls all over the world right now, all word of mouth.
So do you do
they
something
can,
similar to this? If you have somebody from, say, another country, do you record the session with them? Is that how it works?
No, they can record. I won't, because just let's, for example, say something happened to my recording, it would look bad. And I don't trust it. So they can do whatever they want. Some mediums will not let you record, but I tell them you can do whatever you want, write, record. I don't mind. I have nothing to hide, and I don't remember this stuff. Stuff comes through me, So it's good that they do that.
All right. Well, this has been really good. I'm still a little curious about the veil aspect. If I was always under the impression that it was part of the placenta, and I just find it curious. It's almost like some kids are chosen somehow, since it's so rare. And if you could maybe illuminate us a little bit more on that, because I really do think this is
when the child is born in the birth sac. That hasn't broken. They call that the veil. They call that the Caul. That's not really the same thing. Those people that have been born like that I know of, do not have the gifts that I have, or the ones that others that I know. This veil is a membrane of some sort. Okay. I guess I probably could do some research on it and find out. I'm just not interested in it. I just know what I have. And by the way, I got to tell you, this is really difficult. A lot of anxiety. You're telling people stories, things that have happened. That you're seeing, like a child that was, had passed away, or a mother who passed away, and the woman you're sitting with was like the daughter and best friends. It takes a lot out of you, and it's hard. It's not fun. It's not. It really isn't. It's not about me. I've been chosen. These gifts were granted to me. And if I disrespect these gifts, they're gone. If I make it about money, I don't. I mean, I have to get paid, but I don't make it about money. They're gone. Hello? Diane? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I moved. Go ahead. I'm just listening. Yes,
okay.
I can.
I never lost you. I never lost you. I can hear you, so I don't know what happened. Oh, that's right. And that's right. And clients, how you got clients? Yeah, go ahead.
If
so you don't make it about money.
You said you oh yeah, well, people, when you make it about you, and you make it about the money, for example, TV stars, I won't go into it, but there's one very popular person that actually seriously damaged two clients of mine. One lost the child, both had lost children. They were just told stuff that she had already known, and it hurt them. So you have to be careful with that. I have you said you read, I think you said you looked me up, and if you read on my webpage, A Mother's Torment No More, I was contacted on Facebook by a woman who said her friend lost everything, she has nothing. Will you go see her? So I did, and I went up to Poughkeepsie, which is about an hour and a half from me, and I sat down. Her son came through. He was killed in a fire, which she was led to believe that she started by throwing her ashtray in the garbage. I saw flames like a blowtorch coming out of an outlet, and it turns out it was a faulty outlet. She lived for 18 months thinking she had killed her son.
Well, who gave her that impression?
I didn't charge
her. Who gave her
her
the impression? Who gave her the impression?
The fire department. A firefighter told her that that's where the fire started. And I said,
what did the firefighter
I'm seeing a flame. He said she threw her ashtray out in the garbage, and that's what caused the fire. No, he wasn't an investigator. The guy was being shady. He hurt himself earlier and was going to sue her. But I said, listen, I'm seeing flames coming out of an outlet like a blowtorch. I said, this is definitely a faulty outlet. She said, no. And that's when she told me the fire department said what this firefighter was saying. I said, okay, what was the fire department's finding on this? She said, inconclusive. I said, all right, there had to be a fire investigator. What was his finding? She said, faulty outlet. I looked at her. I said, I just told you that. The fire investigator told you that. Why did you believe the firefighter? She said, well, all firefighters, they're all heroes. I said, no, they're actually not. You have to be careful. And there was a firefighter who actually died in this fire of a heart attack. That came through too. And he was telling me, be careful of this guy because he was really shady. Turns out the guy hurt his back prior to the fire. He was claiming he hurt his back in the fire. If he could have proven that she was negligent, he would have gotten more money. Bottom line is she had nothing. I didn't charge her for any of that. I had a client, lost her 6-year-old son. Contacted a very famous medium. The producer who was on TV. Producer took all this woman's information, her whole life. The personality, I'm not going to call her medium, personality called her back 2 days later and gave her back everything that she had told the producer. So the personality said, you should come in and talk to Stephen, that's the son's name. We should set up an appointment for you. And my client said no, because you didn't tell me anything you didn't already know. 2 weeks later, the producer calls my client and tells her, you got to come out because Stephen won't let this personality read anybody else until you come and talk to him. Now, the souls don't do that. The souls don't block other souls. Okay?
Stephen is this woman's
Stephen was
son?
the son that passed.
God.
After she hung up with the medium, and because she told us she didn't give her anything that the medium didn't already know, wasn't already told. The producer called my client back 2 weeks later and said, you have to come out and talk to this medium because Stephen, that's the child that passed, won't let this medium read anybody else until you come out and talk to him.
Oh.
Now, the souls don't do that. Okay,
No.
They don't get in each other's way, but my client didn't know that. She went with her family, her husband and 2 other daughters, and sat, and they told her that they did not want to be on TV.
Okay, they didn't want to be on
in the
TV, but then why
restaurant.
did they contact the TV show?
They contracted the medium to do a reading, not the TV show. They didn't realize it's the same thing.
Oh, I don't understand why they told the producer the story then.
In other words, they called this medium because they wanted a reading, period, just about Stephen. They didn't want to be on TV, and that was made clear. The person that answered the phone was actually a producer for the show. They did not know that. They thought they were calling for a private meeting. They were told that my client was told the medium that they did not want to be on TV. So please don't put them on TV. They just want you can book a private session with this medium without being on TV. Okay, but you have a child that passed, that makes good TV. So they go out there now. They go out there to the restaurant. Basically, they were told exactly what they were told the first time on the phone. So the medium says to my client, "Is there anything you want to ask Stephen before he goes back?" And I don't know where they go. They never leave. They just kind of stop talking with me. So my client says, "Yeah. How about telling us something you didn't already know?" The woman got up. The medium got up and said, the reading's over, and left the restaurant. My client chased her to her house. You come back here and you tell me something that you didn't know. Okay. They were the second episode of the season. They didn't realize they were being put on TV. And when you enter this building, there's signs that says if you come in, you're liable to be on TV. You can be on TV. They try to get everything off to show off because the way it was edited, she said, Bob, the way it was edited, and I work in TV, I've done some shows. Editing is everything. The way it was edited, you would think this woman was nailing it. Boom, boom, boom. And well, holy mackerel, look what she got. When in fact, she was just repeating certain things that she already knew.
Okay, well.
And let me just finish. How this damaged her husband, then left it, believing he's never going to talk to his son again. There's no such thing as the afterlife. And he really kind of lost it. And that's how you can damage people, by taking advantage of this.
Maybe on more of a regular level, like people are bouncing around on the internet. They see a psychic close to them. I mean, how do they really know? Or even if they're not close to them, if they don't want to visit them in person, sometimes some of them do it like a phone reading. I've seen lots of these online.
Yeah,
some of them seem legit.
I do phones.
So, yeah, but how do you recognize if somebody's? How do you recognize if somebody's legit or not?
The one thing you look for, the real true key, is if they're asking you a lot of questions right out of the gate. Who do you want to talk to? Why do you want to talk to them? Did you have this? And they kind of let you talk. When you have to understand, when people come to us, they're very excited. They want to hear from certain people that have passed. Mm-hmm. So they will start talking, and they'll start giving us a lot of stuff. And if they do that, I tell my clients, don't tell me anything. So they don't come in and do that. but very frequently they'll come in and they'll start talking, even though I tell them not to say anything. I ask them to not say anymore. I ask them to stop talking, because the ones that are fake are not going to tell you to stop talking.
Okay, but not all. That's if there's a medium, right? The psychics per se don't always do that. They don't always get in touch with, spirits that have, or souls that have passed. They get in touch with energies and such that are unrelated to that. So there are different types of psychics. Why would somebody visit somebody? Is it, I guess, to get closure with somebody who's passed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Closure. Want to talk to somebody that maybe they didn't have a relationship with. I got a call one Sunday, and I usually shut the skylight, as I like to call it, down on Sunday. She said, "I got your name from somebody else. I woke up at 5 o'clock this morning, footsteps in my bedroom. I look over and somebody's looking out my window." Okay, so I do house cleaning, so I go over. It turned out that was her father. Okay, it was her father's way of getting her attention, to get me over there, it was me, to talk to her. And I told her, I said, one of the reason for this is that you right now are talking about or thinking about your father. You're trying to grasp hold of your relationship with him and what it was and how bad it was and why it was that way and why he wasn't there for you. And her boyfriend who was with us, that was sitting next to us, he turned to me and said, "Yes, she's talking a lot about that." So they, they manifest. They get us to where they get people to who we have to talk to.
Okay, that's great. Well, this has been a lot of information. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. Sorry about what?
I'm sorry?
Sorry about what? You said you were sorry about that.
Oh, I gave you a lot of information.
So thank you so much. And I'll let you know.
I appreciate the interview.
Sure, and thank you for what you do. It sounds like you do a lot of great work for people, so that's awesome.
Yeah, it's rewarding when some people walk away from me. I just like to tell people I can't find your keys and I can't find your boyfriend. Other than that, we'll work together.
Okay. That's great. That's great.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you again.
All right.
You have a great night.
Thank you, Dyann. You too. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. This is your host, Dyann Bridges, and you've been listening to The Body House Chronicles.